One thing that is going on today that has been going on for quite some time. I know the Palestinians issue and stuff in Israel, but it's been known for quite a number of years that offshore Gaza Strip, there's a lot of natural gas, and there's been deals, and then they broke through. They have negotiations with the Palestinians to develop the natural gas in the area, and there's also British gas. British Gas, who has, I think they have like 80% of the rights to that offshore drilling for natural gas. And you know what I'm thinking? Yeah, she's pedaling down the side of Gaza Strip here. I don't know, it's probably in California or something, Northern California. But what I'm thinking is that a lot of this war also, besides being timed with right after the election, may be over drilling for natural gas. Because I think it's always gotten to me where I've said every single country in the Middle East has all this natural gas and crude oil underneath the ground, yet Israel doesn't drill for any oil basically. And I don't know what the deal is. We also know from Lindsey Williams that there was an agreement made. I'm saying he's partly right, so I know. Sometimes I think his information isn't good, but there was agreements between, the elite oil barons in the West to develop the oil wells over in, say, Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Libya, and, in exchange, they would take the U.S. dollar as their currency. And I guess, part of there might be some type of an agreement that Israel would not develop its oil reserves. I have a feeling there is oil reserves. You know what? I'm familiar with one person that seemed to know a lot about what was in the ground as far as the metals and stuff like that. And he told me that they have ways with satellite to actually tell what's in the ground, like how much oil's in the ground, how many diamonds are in the ground, how much copper's in the ground. They could do a lot of stuff right from space. I don't know how true that is or not. But, considering how technologically advanced Israel is, if there was oil there, and I know there's natural gas because there is a lot of natural gas outside of, right offshore, right off the Gaza Strip, that somehow, they know it's there. But I'm assuming that it is there, they know it's there, and are deliberately not developing it. But something might be coming to a head now because, we know that the dollar's collapsing. It's not going to collapse overnight, but the dollar is on its way out. So, Israel might be thinking to establish itself as an economic powerhouse, or it always does. It wants to be the center or severe sphere of influence in the Middle East. And the only way to do that, too, is also to develop its own natural resources within its borders. So, part of this thing with Gaza might be I think it's over natural gas, too. I think there's a lot more been brewing for a number of years. And, that's something that's not discussed. If you're looking at the news, they don't tell you anything about, the stories are out there. You can find them. And you can find them going back many years about natural gas being off of the Gaza Strip. But I think there's a hell of a lot more resources in Israel than, basically known to the average person. And I think there's some type of policy that Israel will not develop its natural gas and crude oil resources as long as, say the Saudis and, Iraq and, not Iran, that's the problem, just sells oil and trades in dollars. So I think something's going on with this war with Israel because I think Israel's kind of fighting for its life in one other way. Because when the dollar collapses, it is going to collapse. What's going to happen to the military power of the United States? That's going to collapse too. And what's going to happen to Israel then? They're going to be surrounded by enemies. So that's another thing I think they're thinking about too, because they're not stupid. That's what I would be thinking too. You might as well start it now while, everything's still working, So, if you think about it, if Israel waited to the last minute, did not develop any of its natural resources, waited to the last minute for the dollar to collapse and the protection of the United States to disappear, where would they be? Where would they be? So in some ways, I can definitely see why they're doing some of the things they're doing right now. It's a matter of survival, because if there was no United States to protect Israel, they'd be through. And if they didn't develop their own natural resources, that would hurt them a great deal too, because they have to import everything, right? I mean, and these other countries are not friendly to them, so I don't know. They would sell them oil at double rates or something, for all I know. But yesterday, you looked at oil went up quite a bit, and today it pulled back pretty hard. But oil was going up a lot yesterday because rockets are being fired from Gaza, and being fired at Tel Aviv, and the Iron Dome was taking them out. But that was a lot why oil was going up. Now today it dropped a lot because there's a ceasefire. But if I'm just going to judge the price of oil by how I think things are going in the Middle East, I think oil is on its way up again. Big time, because I don't think tensions in the Middle East are going to go away at all. This ceasefire is something's going to happen with it. I know it. So, but one thing I want people to keep in mind with this thing, there's a lot more going on in the Middle East than just with Iran. And I think developing Israel's natural gas, which is offshore the Gaza Strip, which has been, under negotiations for years and years and years, that may be a major factor of what's going on. Because you got to remember, the guy, the big country that's really keeping Israel, from getting destroyed. I know people are going to say, Israel's got all these nukes and stuff. I know what people are going to say. But the thing is, the United States, if the United States had an economic collapse, which it doesn't look like it's that many years away, where would Israel be? So I'd almost see why they're making their moves right now too. They have to secure their future, or else they're screwed. So now I don't know. I'm just being objective about this. I know some people are definitely going to disagree with that, but I think, like I said, just to repeat it and sum it up, Israel actually, I think, is it's not overall just Hamas and stuff. I think it's over the natural gas too. They're going to need to develop that to keep their country strong. They also want to, they want to establish themselves more as an economic powerhouse in the Middle East, and they need the resources and the economic energy resources to do so. So whatever gets in the way, they're going to want to push out of the way, and that's it. So I think that's part of what's going on today, right now, too, besides what you might read in the newspapers. It's probably a lot over natural gas. And I suspect Israel is probably sitting on a lot of oil reserves, and they're probably very well aware of it. That is a guess on my part. I've read stories about this over the years, but they're not really mainstream stories. They're more like halfway conspiracy stories and stuff. But I suspect they do have a lot of oil down. Israel probably does have a lot of oil. And just the fact that they really don't have any oil wells in the country, it's telling me that maybe there's some type of an agreement for Israel not to develop its natural energy resources, and let Saudi continue on doing its thing, and them invest in the U.S. dollar and cause all trade to be for oil internationally in U.S. dollars. But considering this whole hegemony with the United States and its global power may be coming to an end, I don't know. Israel might be thinking some other angles here. They got to be thinking about what would happen if the United States is no longer anywhere near as strong as it was. So, I think they're trying to take care of business right now. That just might be what's going on.